Yeah, man, I'm feeling the air horns right now. Bow, 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 bow.
That is very positive and naive. I don't think it's true, but I love the idea of it.
Oh man, we have a shit ton of things to talk about today. Now I'm gonna ask, are you gonna put your balls where your mouth is? No, that's not the phrase at all. Money where your what the fuck? That's not a phrase. My initial reaction to this was really, who gives a shit? Who cares? And I've changed my mind a lot. And the reason why I've changed my mind. No, don't be patronizing, you fucking dick.
Welcome to Soul Brothers. Together with my dear friend Eno and myself, Simon, where it is our job to throw you into the Solana rabbit hole and show you around in our exciting ecosystem.
Our mission is to help you stay on top of the latest and greatest on Solana so that you never run out of fun things to talk about. Simon, I think we should get to the coziest part of the podcast. I'm super excited to listen. I'm a little nervous now, so I'd love to get your take on the TA this week.
Yeah, why are you nervous, bro? I told you. I literally told you what's going to happen. Okay, let's look at the chart. And if you have watched the last EP of Soul Brothers, then you kind of knew already what's going on here. So I won't, it's nothing new for you what happened. But for everyone who hasn't seen it, let's just roll it back a little bit again. So we are looking at the daily chart, the 4-hour chart of the Solana price right now, the Solana coin. And right now, I have changed a little bit the right side of the chart. If you're watching this on YouTube and you have video or you're on the live stream, then you can see it visually. If not, we're looking right now in a zoomed out view at the bottom that we saw at the beginning of April at the Black Monday at $95, and then the 5 waves up that we've confirmed since then. And obviously that stands. I just repeat it here because, again, in Elliott wave theory, which is like most of the TA I'm doing here, combined with some other techniques, but in Elliott wave theory, you have 5 waves up that confirms basically a directional change again. That means, okay, the trend changes to up again, right, from the bottom. Once the 5 waves were established, we knew, okay, the trend changed to the top. After the 5th wave has topped out, and you confirm that top is in place, which we can by now, then you move on, and you will look for a corrective move to the downside. And corrective moves usually are not 5-wave moves, they're 3-wave moves, right? So now we're looking for a 3-wave move to the downside in a larger wave 2, because the 5-wave move to the upside we saw from the bottom to the high here, that played out in a 5-wave move, but overall that was wave 1, right? We can count it as wave 1. And then from that wave 1, we're now tracking the second wave to the downside. And the target zone for that second wave to the downside is still, since probably 2-3 weeks, I have it on my chart, it's $143 as the first resistance, and then all the way down to $122. That would be the target zone for wave 2. That can play out in days, but most likely in weeks. So right now we're more looking, I think June can bring us that, right? So June could be a month of sideways move with downside pressure. Historically, June has always been quite volatile and not really a super bullish move. If you look back, especially for Bitcoin prices, and since both is correlating a lot, June can definitely be more and more of a bearish month. But it depends how fast we complete the correction. If it takes a week, maybe the second half of June is going to be a good month, right? But right now, where are we in this correction? Well, we've seen the first micro count of an A, B, C kind of play out here already. It is almost completed because the A wave to the downside after the 5-wave top has played out. Then we had an overshooting B wave that overshot the 5th wave top. And then from this B wave that was on $187 a couple of weeks back now, from there we saw a decline now. The decline wasn't last week. We touched on this, not even a full week ago, and it wasn't confirmed yet that the C wave is actually playing out. But I would confirm it now because the C wave here in micro count is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. That was an impulse down. That was the last days, basically, what happened over the weekend and before that. The wave 3 played out to the downside. That's where I closed my short, by the way. I closed 80% of it now. And then now we are in a fourth wave correction. I have no idea where we are there. It could have already topped the corrective move 4, already reached the target range for the fourth correction here. But it could also push a bit higher here, right? To $160, $164. I would not go long now, really, because we could also that might have been it, right? So if you want to swing trade this, I wouldn't go long. I wouldn't do anything anyways because I'm not your financial advisor. So this is not financial advice. But from here, we would now look for a fifth wave to the downside to complete this ABC structure in the first leg to the downside of the correction. Now, my primary scenario, again, this is just what I predict. It can play out really differently, but what I predict right now is that as soon as this is completed, right, one more low, then we saw the A wave to the downside in the larger 3-wave move down, right? So then we would look for a B wave to the upside again, right? That could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. I don't know. We'll see. So we're looking for a B wave to the upside. This should not overshoot $187. And then from there, we would see one more low, right? It could be painful to watch because obviously usually what happens is people get excited after this A wave and they're like, okay, we're going up again, right? But mostly it's manipulation. That's why, Elliott waves work, because the market manipulates all the way up to a new high here in the corrective move. But then we'll see another aggressive push in the C wave again, similar to what we saw here, right? In this one. And this could bring us in this target range for wave 2, the larger wave 2, right? And from there, we can breathe, right? And we can start longing again, maybe down here with more certainty, because if we hold the $122 at least, if we hold that level, right, then the bulls can bring us up into an impulsive third wave, right, which definitely would bring us over $200 again, into a higher region, and then from there we'll see what happens next, right? Does this provide a little bit more clarity?
It does provide more clarity, but now I'm going to ask, are you going to put your balls where your mouth is? No, that's not the phrase at all. Money where your what the fuck? That's not a phrase. With balls where your
Wait
mouth
a
is.
second.
I take that back. Oh no.
I'm not going to put my balls. I'm not going to put my balls where my mouth.
Caveman, please don't clip this. Please don't clip this. Are you going to put your money where your...
He's so going to clip this. Yeah, what do I do? What do I do with my balls? Just tell me again.
Okay, I'm going to pretend like the last 30 seconds didn't happen. I'm literally, I'm red. Like all the blood in my face from my balls has gone to my face.
Yeah, together.
I actually am physically incapable of blushing, and I'm literally blushing right now. That is okay. Anyways, so are we gonna do the thing where you're gonna open a long or a short, or I mean,
right.
maybe the move is, maybe this is educational, where we tell people, sorry guys, we're doing this live. Maybe you'd be like, I wouldn't open a long or a short in this situation. I would wait for it. That's totally valid way of actually, looking at it.
That depends how we want to play this new format of a live trade during the podcast, right? So we thought, why not do a live trade during the podcast? If we want to do this new format, then the rule needs to be we have to open a trade and we have to close the trade, during the podcast. Then obviously I don't have a choice. I have to do something. So I would do that. That doesn't mean that everyone who's listening to the live stream right now should do the same, because maybe right now is not a good moment to do anything. And actually right now is probably not the best moment to do anything if you want to, because the way I trade, right, is not 1 hour time frame usually. The way I trade usually is more like over the course of a day or 2 or 3. So I would now, what I would now do if I wouldn't do the live trade in the podcast, I would probably wait for a bit more, confirmation here if we're already topped in the fourth wave, or if we're going higher, because I have no idea right now if we're already topped in the fourth and we're going down. That would be a short, or if we're going to push a little bit higher here. But let's see what I can do right now with my magic. This has no, this probably won't work out, but we'll see what happens. This trade that we're doing now, we're going to do a small trade. And right now we saw a big red candle here. I think London opened. So right now London market should be trading. Europe is awake. They are trading, but US is still in bed. Asia, what time is it right now?
Somewhere around around like 4-7 p.m. somewhere around that range. Okay. Yeah,
right. So Asia market also kind of winding down. People are kind of leaving their laptops. You can do that if you do day trading, right? You look at the market opens and closes in each region. So we can't really do that because nothing significant. London is open, but I think we saw the London move already here, which was kind of a push to the upside and then a drop. Anyway, long story short, I think we should open a small long, because we saw a big red candle here, and we might see a correction to the upside from there. There's like right now I'm looking at the 50-minute chart. We could even go smaller than that, because we're trading such a small time frame right now. And there's like some sort of resistance here around 154 to 155, and we kind of touched that right now. So if we keep that channel, if we're going more sideways, then from here we should go up, right? If we're holding this this moving average here. So long story short, let's move over to JupPro, Perps, sorry, and let's see what we can do. I think we should probably go with a little long here. It's going to stay open for the course of the podcast. Let's put like $50 in it. Okay, are you ready? $50 on the line. Let's see where the liquidation price is, because we don't want to get liquidated too early. Oh, price is dropping more. That's good for us if we want to open. 144. Okay, we can do a bit more than that. Let's keep the liquidation above 153. So let's do like a 25x. Yeah, I don't want to go below this level here with liquidation.
Yeah, 149.
So yeah, okay, let's keep it like, let's keep it here, 149. And boom, let's see how it goes. We're gonna keep that trade open during the pot. I'm also gonna do a quick alarm on my trading view. So I'm getting alarmed if we break through the bottom here of that range already, just so we know that we might get in a liquidation area. Then we could decide to rescue the trade, but that's dangerous, because that always means increasing the collateral. Anyway, enough charts. What is on the agenda today? What are we talking about?
Oh man, we have a shit ton of things to talk about today. Let me just pull up our notes, our handy dandy notes. So, first thing that we want to talk about isn't even necessarily like Solana news, but it is kind of affecting just markets in general, or just like commentary. GameStop, are you a fan of GameStop, Simon?
Huge. No, not really. Never been a fan of it. Never really. Not as a customer, not as a brand. I kind of faded the whole GME thing. So
I see. Well, GME was actually the start of all my degeneracy. I had been a pretty safe investor up until GME, and then I got caught up in Wall Street bets before I got flooded by everybody. And Ryan Cohen is the CEO of GameStop, and he's a huge fan of Michael Saylor as well as Bitcoin, also President Trump. Much to my chagrin, but. He's employing a MicroStrategies esque, plan, which is to take the GameStop treasury, take all that cash, and turn it into Bitcoin. So last week they purchased $500 million worth of BTC. So that's about 4,700 BTC last week. And when Ryan Cohen was asked, why did you do this? And he's like, well, we need a hedge against fiat currency. It doesn't look like it's holding its value over time, and so gold and Bitcoin are more suitable for a treasury. I agree. Actually, I'm not much of a fan of the U.S. dollar, even though I agree it is the lingua franca of finance. But as a treasury asset, you'd be much better off either getting yield on your stables or holding something like BTC or gold. What's your take on that?
My take is firstly, it seems a little bit desperate, right? Because why would I do that? Like, why do I do that as a company? Sure, the reason why he did it, he says, is it's a hedge against market uncertainties, macroeconomic uncertainties, against inflation. When I say macroeconomic uncertainties, it's usually a hedge against currencies, right? So I get that. But in the case of GameStop, for me, it seems a bit desperate. Why? Because you should probably think about why your business sucks, right? Like declining video game sales, a weak retail business. I think they don't really do really well business-wise, right? So it seems a little bit desperate, especially because they do have a shitload of money, right? They have, I think they have more than $5 billion yeah, they have more than 5 billion cash reserves. The company, GameStop, and they spend only a fraction of that on Bitcoin. So it seems to be like kind of a like testing the waters. See what the market thinks about it, and the market doesn't think good about it because if I'm not mistaken, the stock GME shares, they dropped nearly 20% over 2 days post news on the 28th of May. Let's see where they are now. GME.
No, they're about $29, but they pumped to 35. So there was that kind of exuberance with
Okay.
the news, and then sell the news.
But wait, but the
To
news were okay. The news were when exactly?
last
Wasn't
Wednesday,
it?
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so that was like the 28th of May, I guess.
Right.
And then the price already started pumping on the 21st,
I see.
22nd,
I see. I
and
see.
it topped on the 27th, and
I see.
then it declined sharply after the 28th. So it looks more like, at least the market was like, not sure who like that. Like,
Sure.
who's your target audience here? Like, who are your investors? Do they think it's a good idea? You should guess so because your investors are a lot of, a bunch of degens as well. But I guess there's a lot of traditional investors holding GME as well, and they seem unconvinced that this addresses the core issues that GameStop
Sure.
faces.
I guess I don't disagree that it looks desperate. But I would also like to add that GameStop has been an early supporter and practitioner of trying to incorporate blockchain into their product, even if it doesn't make the most sense. So an example of this would be they were developing an NFT marketplace where you could, like there was that narrative 2-3 years ago where in-game assets could be NFTs that were exchangeable between games within a larger ecosystem. That bet did not play out, by the way. They shuttered that project. But I just mean to say, like, this is not Ryan Cohen's like first rodeo with crypto. Like, he's always been trying to find different ways to get GameStop involved. At that time, there wasn't MicroStrategies, which essentially made it okay to full port your entire treasury into Bitcoin. But now that someone's doing it, I think he also feels a little bit more comfortable trying it
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well.
worked out for Sailor pretty
Yeah.
well. Like but you can. I don't know if you should try to copy that man. I think he's a one and only what he did with MicroStrategy. But on the other side, it could be a broader development that we're seeing. Companies putting their treasury into Bitcoin, similar to gold, to hedge against uncertainties. Right? Maybe more companies are going to do that from now on, which would be bullish on Bitcoin. And yes, I mentioned some. I mentioned, my concerns with it, but bottom line, obviously, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin in the midterm, long term. So that should, if Bitcoin appreciates in price, then that will obviously benefit GameStop, right? Especially if they keep loading up.
Yeah.
So it might, but it's risky. It's risky. It's a bet. It's a bet on crypto. It's a bet on Bitcoin. You're doing it as a company that's not in the business of buying Bitcoins normally, right? That's not what your business case says, right? Your business plan back in the day didn't say we're going to buy some cryptocurrencies. So that's why investors might be a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a risk on it's a bet on Bitcoin, which obviously I think it's fair to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the next bit of really exciting macro news? Solana, has hit 1 billion in stablecoin inflows from sexes in just May. So that's actually I'm surprised that so many stablecoins are flowing into Solana. It makes me feel like there's one larger player that's responsible for that, as opposed to just retail in general. But like that is phenomenal. Actually, you can see in January there was a huge outflow in stablecoins. But in general, at least in the month of May, stablecoin inflows from centralized exchanges in Solana, was over $1 billion. So that's all good. That's more liquidity for us.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I think that's it. Stablecoin inflows, outflows, and the development is, I think, a metric we should watch over time. I think zoomed in, like month by month, it's good to look at it. Especially, for example, here in the chart, we can see fuck, it's picking up, right? 2025 looks volatile again. Like there shit is happening. Like the market seems to be hot, right? Again, after Trump was elected. Before that, it was like, not a lot happened. Not a lot happened. So that's good overall, right? Because we want volatility, because it creates volume, right? Creates activity on chain. But then what I'm looking for is more like the longer curve here, right? What happens in the ecosystem over the next 5 years with stablecoin inflows? If that consistently goes up, that's super bullish for us.
So we're at an all-time high. Still,
Yeah.
we're just
Wow.
over $2.5 billion. Sorry, $11.6 billion in stablecoin supply. So I mean, like, look, we're healthier than we have ever been, and I remember, when I first started on Solana, like, yeah, like we were very much, at the bottom of the bottom. There was only probably $1.52 billion worth in stablecoins at that time. So like when I had, so it was like January 2020. So 1.8 billion in stablecoins. So we've 6x that in the last 2 years. So that's phenomenal, I think. And there's definitely more stablecoins coming in. So over time, this is a very rosy picture. Month to month, doesn't give a very accurate diagnosis of where we are with stablecoin inflows. And I still believe that Solana is going to be the number one chain for stablecoins going forward. It just makes so much sense. Can't afford to be paying $40 gas fees just to send a transaction. It's ridiculous. I know. You could use Base, you could use Polygon, you can use or whatever the fuck, but but no one's using them, and the liquidity is super fragmented. So that's why Solana makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there has been a lot of partnerships recently with institutions, a lot of institutional news, we touched a lot of RWA news last podcast, where we get credit funds on Solana, we get a lot of new money markets and instruments on Solana, and I think that also brings stablecoins to the ecosystem, which is good. And then obviously, there's a few reasons why this is happening right now. I think also we had much more money in meme coins, right, a year ago. Now less money in meme coins, maybe more in stable still. So that's there's a few reasons I think why we're seeing these things happening.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of good news, though, it's not just stable coins. We also got a statement from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, aka the SEC. Did you see this news last week, Simon? I did not.
I didn't see it directly. I saw it now, but it took a few days for me to appreciate the significance of that.
Yeah. This was a pretty quiet release from the SEC. I'm surprised that this didn't get more noise on the timeline. But just zooming in onto what this statement from the SEC is. This paragraph here perfectly summarizes kind of what this statement's all about. But what is the division's view on protocol staking activities? It is the division's view that protocol staking activities in connection with protocol staking do not involve the offer and sale of securities within the meaning of Section 2A of the Securities Act of 1993. And furthermore, it is the division's view that participants in protocol staking activities do not need to register with the commission. So, number one, boom. Staking does not fall within the purview of the Securities Act. And number two, people who participate in staking either on the protocol or the individual level do not need to register with the SEC. That being said, there is a footnote over here, number 4. I obviously read this whole thing from top to bottom because I work at Sanctum and we provide staking solutions. So this makes a lot of sense for me to actually read the whole thing. Here's the gotcha though. So the footnote number 4 is that this statement addresses protocol staking generally rather than all its variations. Further, this statement does not address all forms of staking such as so-called liquid staking, restaking, or liquid restaking. The specific staking activities covered by the statement are discussed in the protocol staking activities covered by the statement, which is why you get this really particular title, which is Statement on Certain Protocol Staking Activities. Not all of them, just some. But I think that this is incredibly bullish. I think it's just a matter of time before we see a similar statement, at least on liquid staking. I'm not quite so sure. It depends on how the restaking is done and whether or not that would be whether that would be considered a security or financial. I don't know how exactly I would phrase that, but at least as it pertains to native staking, it is not,
Okay.
a security. But I am.
Okay.
It remains to be seen what happens with liquid staking as well as restaking.
Okay. Okay. All right. But I mean, it's a move in the right direction. The mere fact that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission publishes these things right now, and sits in a room and talks about these things, right, and puts out regulation, that is huge. I want to take a moment to appreciate the mere fact, right? Like just that is already big for us. And then if the news that come out of these meetings are positive for us, even better, right? And I think staking activities being no securities is bottom line a very good thing for us, because obviously it makes business much easier, right? In the staking game, it creates less friction. You don't need to care too much about tax implications here, and net there's more money that can be made with staking activities, which is great. So yeah, bullish.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. Like, we lived in a regulatory environment for years where we could get zero clarity from the SEC about what was allowed or not allowed. Like, this is a huge step in the right direction. And I also know that there are many people from Solana who have been meeting the White House to talk about what exactly staking is for a proof of stake network. And whether or not that should be considered a security. So I think that there's actually quite a few people, both at foundation and the protocol level, who we have to thank, for this statement. Because if it wasn't for people like them actually meeting Congress, meeting the crypto task force, meeting the White House, we would not have. I mean, everyone knows my distaste for Trump, but at the very least, under his administration, let's be fair, right? And what I can be fair about is that under his administration, the SEC is actually giving proper guidance. And hopefully it'll continue to be the guidance that we would like to see. But at the very least, we're getting a point of view. And I think that's just much better than where we were during the Biden administration.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Progress is being made, which is always good for us. Yeah.
Yes. Do we want to move on to our experimental news section, Hot or Not, which is exactly the same as before, but just with a new title?
Hot or Not could be a new Netflix series, but yeah, sure. Let's
Hot
do
or
Hot or
Not.
Not.
Hot or Not
could be
seems
a reality show.
I know you're exactly right. Now that I'm saying it out loud on the podcast, I actually really regret the choice. It's like, Hot or Not. What the fuck is that? That sounds like a reality dating show. Like the worst.
Maybe it's good. I mean, yeah, they perform really well on Netflix right now. I don't know why, but sometimes I'm forced to watch them, which I really generally not enjoy. But it happens. But yeah, our Hot or Not is about launches, news, and announcements on Solana and our opinion on them. So let's dig in. What does the timeline has to offer this week?
Okay, so the first tweet that's up for Hot or Not is by our very good friend Jodo. For people who don't know Jodo, he was formerly a co-founder of a product called CoinHall with his co-founder Aaron. Aaron now leads up Jupiter Mobile, Jupiter Core, so the swaps. And then Jodo is working on JupPro, formerly 8Pro. And JupPro has just released something called a Launchpad screener. And essentially what the Launchpad screener does is it gives you a side-by-side comparison of all the different Solana Launchpads, and then talks about their top-performing tokens, across key metrics. So I think, this is surprisingly, we talk about things very early. So I think one of the things I'm super proud to talk about early was AI agents. We covered that with Goatius Maximus, the GOAT token. And I think we were the first podcast and or some of the first people on Solana to really start talking about the proliferation of AI agents. We have it on the record. But one thing that we haven't really talked about is the proliferation of launchpads. We've talked about certain projects like Let's Bonk, but I'd love to get your take, Simon, on what you think about all these new launchpads that are out there.
Damn. For me, this is a sign of a problem not being solved yet, right? Because builders are building, builders are tinkering, entrepreneurs are always first and foremost problem solvers. That's what we are when we build a company. If you're not solving a problem, then you're not building a business, because what the fuck are you doing? Like who's gonna pay money for what you're doing if you're not solving a problem for someone? That's kind of the, why do I say that? Because launchpads right now have not been the holy grail, right? There's no launchpad that has proven itself to work out really well. And I don't think it's only a launchpad problem. It is kind of a systematic problem of the crypto industry and token launches itself, and and tokens as an instrument, and the way they work in markets and with traders, how traders behave when it comes to crypto tokens. But still, you can improve things, right? There's sniping has been a problem for a long time. Then obviously with Pump coming in, a lot of scam tokens came out, and kind of just people that are literally criminals launching tokens and taking out money from the ecosystem. Another huge problem, and you can solve that with tech to an extent. Bottom line, we're seeing innovation and we're seeing experimentation when it comes to launchpads, which is good because that's the only way we can actually make it, and we can build products that work, right? So we need this competition that we're looking at right now here. If you're looking at the screen, you're seeing the new Launchpad feature, the Launchpad comparison that you can access on jup.ag/pro if you go on the Launchpad tab. And you have a few metrics that you can track here. Market share, 87.1% goes to Pumpdotfun, obviously. So you have Pump still on top of the leaderboard with all metrics, by the way, right? 24-hour volume, $600 million goes to Pump. 24-hour trades, 400,000 trades in 24-hour time window. Liquidity, $1 billion of liquidity in Pumpdotfun tokens, so that's pretty good. And a staggering almost 27,000 new mints tokens. 27,000 new tokens in 24 hours, right? Yeah, like pretty crazy. And then on the second place, and you told me right now, okay, AI agents, we covered them early. Believe Pad, I think we covered it early as well. You remember when we talked about Believe, this whole kind of startup,
yeah, of course,
real
of course,
and so on.
Yes.
So I don't know. It seems to it seems to have worked out pretty well. You have like pretty good tokens on here with like market caps of 120 million. That's Launchcoin. I think that's the primary coin on from Believe itself. But then you have Deal, JTVO, things like this that also trade with quite a good amount of volume as well, $15 million of volume. So that's great. That's happening on Believe, and you can track all these things with this new feature of Jupyter. I actually liked it a lot. It's really interesting to just browse through it and see what's happening. So the top three is Pumpdotfun, Believe Pad, and Let's Bonk Fun is also up here, which is good to see actually.
Yeah. Obviously, it's interesting because all these launch pads came out around the same time that they smelled blood in the water. And the blood that I'm referring to is the breakup between Radium and Pump. And there have been quite a few changes in the ecosystem. Like, we have talked so much shit about Pump, or I mean, I have you've been more fair, but I've definitely I've definitely been talking a lot of shit. But like two consequences to that breakup. Number one is like everyone is starting a launchpad now. So like that's one consequence. The second consequence I'm noticing is that Pump Fun is actually starting to sponsor and get involved in the ecosystem more. Are you starting to notice that?
Yep. I think they have to, right?
Yeah, it's like Jakey is doing something called Based House. So Jakey works on that kind of magazine / social platform called Based, and he's doing Super Based, right? And he's doing a creator's house, which he stole our fucking idea. That's he didn't, but we wanted to do that, right? Like a Soul Brothers creators house, but goddamn, Jakey is doing it first. Love you, Jakey. But yeah, he's doing that
next time.
I know next time, but I hopefully he'll let us tag along. But to be clear, the Super Based House is being sponsored by Pump, and that's just not something that Pump would have done 6 months ago. even.
Mm,
So it's
mm.
and I've seen a couple more announcements, smaller ones, where Pump is the sponsor or is supporting or is working in collaboration with. So that's quite interesting
Yeah,
to see that shift. It's not something
yeah.
that they cared about before, but maybe they listen to the podcast because we've been telling them that they're extractive and they should be doing more for the ecosystem. They're actually doing it now. So I guess
That is very positive and naive. I don't think it's true, but I love the idea of it. I think what's happening. I think what's happening is they just have to start being a company, right? They start to behave like an actual company. Because before that they were just fucking printing and just chilling and like just sitting there and making money. And now they're like, oh shit, we have actually competitors. There's people that want to push us from the throne. Less meme coin trading is happening. We gotta put the foot on the throttle a little bit. So that's what we're seeing right now. They're starting to invest in marketing, expansion, growth, which they haven't done before.
yeah. I'm gonna be super hyperbolic here, and you might get mad at me, and I might even change my mind later. I don't really care. But even if fucking Pump offered 500,000 or like 1 million in sponsorship, I'd still say no. I'd be like, nah,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
good.
so
I don't.
mad at you. How can you not behave like a
I don't.
businessman? You
I
know,
don't know.
we need
Principles.
that money. We
No.
need that money. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I know. I'm with you. I'm just fucking with you.
I don't want to. I don't want to take the
How much?
reputational
How
risk.
much? How much did you? How much would you turn down? What did you say? What was the number?
I went from five. I went from 500,000 to 1 million, and like there, it's just all arbitrary. I mean, like
Is there not a
I
is
mean,
there not a number where you would say yes?
is there
Where you would
not a
be like,
number where I'd say yes? Nah, there isn't.
no,
Nah,
damn.
there really isn't.
Would you hop on a
But
call at least for $1 million to kind of hear them out, give
well,
them a
I'd hop
chance?
on a call for free.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
explore the options to see what they have to say. Maybe they can convince you to do something. That's what I'm
I
thinking.
mean, like I'd have to hear some pretty great stuff on that call, and like the idea of Pump Fun pitching us is hilarious. But
Bro, you need to manifest it. You need to
they need
manifest
to
it.
manifest. Need to manifest
I
it.
don't know
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
need
yeah,
to. I don't know if you manifest this exactly, but
yeah.
there's definitely there's a chance in this universe, I would say, where I would listen and make a game plan and um and
I'd
wouldn't
ra-
feel like I'm selling my soul. So
Yo, man, if Pump hit us up, then I would hit up Nam and be like, "Yo, let's do something with Let's Bonk." You know what I mean? Like, let's promote
yeah,
token but at the same
yeah.
time, there's a lot of meme coin degeneracy. I don't know. You and I have very mixed feelings about it all. It's
Mm.
important to the ecosystem. It powers a lot of DeFi, but also at the same time, I mean, do we really need to be fueling more speculation in the ecosystem? I feel like Solana's doing fine on its own without, two more people on a podcast talking about, you know, use this Launchpad to launch your shitter.
Fair. What we need is better user experiences and better products that are fun to use where you don't lose money. For example, great wallets, great wallets. And there's a few wallet
Oh,
news on the timeline that I want to touch on actually. And obviously, we want to talk a little bit about our friends Solflare as well. But before we do, there's one news coming out of the Phantom wallet that we have to cover here because it is, interesting for people to know. And it's the social wallet feature. What do you think about that, what's your take on social wallets? Have you understood what they're doing here? What's the direction that Phantom is trying to take here with their product right now?
so number one, that was the smoothest segue that we've ever had on this podcast. I give you a 10 out of 10. That was an A plus, amazing. And number two,
You're welcome.
this to me looks exactly like Vector. Vector is a product from Tensor, which is the NFT marketplace. It's the same team, and Vector has this exact same feature, which is that you have people that you follow, and then there's a price chart, and then you can see where on the price chart your friends have bought or sold. So that's exactly that feature, but now Phantom is adding it to their wallet. I could be completely wrong here. Maybe this looks very different but everything I'm seeing from the UI looks almost exactly like what
It,
Vector already does.
it goes in the same direction. I think it's more based on notifications, really. So you kind of get little notifications and pings if people, yeah, do something. Um, that you are maybe not. They haven't some of your friends bought a token you haven't seen yet. Now you know it, right? Like you can track wallets more easily, which is already possible on other apps, right? There's the Solana Social Explorer SSE, for example, from the team from Tapestry. They do something like that as well, but we haven't seen it in a large scale product like Phantom. So yeah, they're tinkering with new ideas. I think it's interesting. It's not a feature that I think is kind of a highly wanted one. I would love to understand their reasoning here, like why they implemented it. I guess it's part of their positioning, the way they want to be seen, right? They want to be seen as this kind of new, shiny, kind of fun wallet to use. That's how their brand is positioned as well. And social features kind of belong into there as well. But I'm not, I mean, it's cool. Would I swap to Phantom only for that? Probably not.
Yeah. I feel like, and I totally get this as a company, and I think it is a little bit of a dilemma. All companies, as they mature, start to experience feature creep, right? Because if you have, let's say, a 50 or 100 person engineering team, you'd want them to keep working, right?
Yeah.
Like like you want them to keep shipping stuff. But the problem with that sometimes is that when you first start out your company, you're solving a very particular problem. And so like all the resources go into solving this one thing. And if you ever hit product market fit, then that means that, okay, like this core feature set is what was responsible for making you successful. But then, let's say that you're 4 or 5 years into it and you've already addressed like the core need, but then you start adding some other convenience features. So like the first one that I'm thinking of that seems directly related to this new social trading alert feature is usernames, right? So they're abstracting away addresses and like creating like phantom specific usernames. So you could at somebody and then like it's a much more human readable way to send funds to a person. And if anything, this new feature seems like something that you would put on the product roadmap if you were in charge of, okay, what do we do with these usernames? Like, what are some cool things that we can do? It's like this is a cool feature. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like it is interesting, but like what ends up happening though is like after 10 years, let's say, you have like hundreds of these types of features, these tinier features that like no one's really using. So it is a bit of a danger for more mature projects where they start to, do you know what I mean? Like the product just gets like super bloated and like there's a bunch of non-essential
100%.
core features. Yeah, non-essential
Yeah,
features.
it's a product owner kind of thing to talk about. Like they do need to have the right product people in your company to decide what features need to be shipped and how do the product owners know what features to ship. They should talk to the customers. Who are the customers? All of us, right? Users. So I'm curious. That's why I say I'm curious how they made the decision. Like, did the product people inside of Phantom actually talk to users? Did they make surveys? Did they talk to people? And the people were like, hey, this is something I'd like to see. Like, this is something I'd like to have. Or was it just an internal decision, like and then you're getting in that build trap of just building something for the sake of building it because the product team thinks it's a good idea, but no one else, right? You need to fucking listen to your customers. So if you're a wallet out there, you should talk to the people and see what they want and then build that feature out. So if you're a wallet and you're talking to people and they tell you, we want Solana, then you should implement Solana to your wallet. And that's what happened with MetaMask. Thank me later for that one as well. You're welcome. MetaMask implemented Solana. Finally, it is live. Back to you, my friend.
No, it's great. That again, a beautiful segue. I was all like, "Is he good? He did it!" But their graphics a little confusing. They say Solana is coming to MetaMask, which kind of feels like, okay, so you made this graphic for another tweet, but now you're live. So congratulations, MetaMask is now live. I mean, Solana is now live on MetaMask. I love that how. There's still metamask.eth. I think someone in the comments of another post called them out on it. And just the exchange was pretty funny. But yeah. It's not good to have. I mean, it's still a shitty product, but it's good to have them here.
Yeah, no, I think it's also good to have them here. MetaMask is huge. They have users, right? They have already existing users. They have users that we don't have yet on Solana. That's why I'm happy about this. And now these users might be able to also experience Solana more. It brings our ecosystems closer together, consensus, and and MetaMask has been a company that has been Ethereum driven since day one, right? They have been such an Ethereum native company that they make this move now either tells me that they actually talk to people and people told them, look, we want Solana, right? Or they look at the market dynamics and they acknowledge now finally, put their ego in the back and we're like, hey, Solana's a great chain. People are using it. Why not insert it in our product? And they did it, right? So shout out to the team from MetaMask. I know a few people there as well. We're in touch with them as well. And I think, it's a good thing for the broader Solana ecosystem. So thanks for coming. We're welcoming you.
Yeah, initially, I will admit, I was because we had covered this before when they were announcing that they were going to, and now they have. And my initial reaction to this was really, who gives a shit? Who cares? And I've changed my mind a lot. And the reason why I've changed my mind is because Vidor, CEO of and founder of Solflare, says constantly that wallets are super sticky, and like that's and for anybody who uses a wallet, that's super intuitive. Like you don't switch around wallets. You typically the wallet that you onboard with is the wallet that you're still using. And so, I think a week ago my response would have been like, just fucking get Solflare, right? Like, why are you bothering to use MetaMask? But I realize now that there's probably millions of people who are not going to do that. They're just going to stick with MetaMask. So it just makes sense to port those users onto Solana that way. Any way that we can get you to stake your soul or buy solid tokens, you want to do that with MetaMask, you want to do the Solflare. I mean, you should do through Solflare, but if you insist, MetaMask, be our guest.
Just still do it through Solflare.
You should still do it through Solflare. And speaking of Solflare, this is not as good of a segue as Simon's segue. I know. Fuck you, Simon. No, don't be patronizing, you fucking dick.
You're welcome. What about them? What about this amazing company?
Yeah. So we actually have a few announcements that are coming out of the Solflare team. So number one, they are going to be over at Apex Budapest. I think you're going to be there as well, right?
I have one weekend in the whole year where I'm committed to go on a family retreat with my family, which I don't see for like 80% of the year. And it's one weekend of Budapest Apex. So I really couldn't tell my parents and be like, hey, excuse me, I know that we've planned this since half a year, but I have this very important event. I will be not at Budapest. Yeah.
My wife already told me no, I'm not allowed to go to Budapest, but I think if you're not going, then I might try to go, because I mean, like, I want to hang out with the the fucking Solflare team, and there's over 20 of them that are going to be coming, and they're great supporters of not just Europe, but specifically, of course, Super Team Balkan. They are a gold sponsor of Balkan's Startup Village. You want to talk more about like all the great work that Solflare does with the ecosystem? They're like the anti-pump.
First of all, sorry, wifey, wifey, for making this man go to Budapest. It might happen now, because actually I'd love to have you there if I'm not there, to also talk to Philip or Vidor and make a little nice clip for Soul Brothers, because we want to bring the founders on the pod, right? So maybe that's a good opportunity for you to jump in an interview. Also, come and hang out. There's Solflare Wallet in the live stream right now. So shout out to the team. Solflare is fucking sponsoring a lot of events right now, and that's why we love them, because they're supporting the Solana ecosystem like fucking big time, right? Big time. They're sponsoring not only the Super Team Balkan Startup Village, which is now upcoming next week, as a gold sponsor. They're also sponsoring the Startup Village in Poland, actually, which was announced, I think, a few days ago as well. Another startup village in Eastern Europe that is very interesting. One of the newer super teams, Poland, that I'm very curious about. I haven't talked to people from there yet. So also shout out for jumping in that opportunity directly and supporting the chats and chadettes from Poland as well as sponsors, because like we have so many hustlers and people in the ecosystem that are actually they're really trying to do a good job. And they're trying to organize events, and we have the super team leads that are actually putting a lot of work into setting up these events, and they're not highly paid individuals usually, right? They make like normal amount of money, but for the work they're doing, it's really tough. Having someone like Solflare chipping in, helping them to scale these events, order lunch every day for the founders on site, make the founders feel like, it's fun to build on Solana. You can't underestimate this. It's a huge thing, right? Like without sponsors like this for events like this on Solana, our ecosystem wouldn't be the same. So I think we should really take a moment, like really honestly take a moment to be to appreciate the fact that they are using the funds that they're making with their company and giving it back into the ecosystem. Obviously, it's not a charity, right? They do this to manifest their brand in the ecosystem. But there's others out there, Pumpdotfun, that are not doing it in the same extent. So I think it's definitely something we should shout out to, right?
Yeah, it's something we should celebrate. And what I think a lot of people should realize is there's a big difference between sponsoring for prestige. So an example of this would be getting your name on an F1 car. Like that's very much a vanity sponsorship. Like you're not doing, like all you're doing is you're putting money into the pockets of already very wealthy people, right? So there's sponsorship for prestige, and then there's sponsorship to support, right? And it's very clear that Solflare is in the latter category. Now, don't get me wrong. They had one of the most impressive, in-person activations at Accelerate. They do exceptionally well at the conference game, and they had their own fucking castle, which is like kind of insane. But my point is that like that's not the majority of their sponsorship. Like what they do mostly is they support the shit out of the ecosystem, right? So like the Toronto Startup Village, the Polish Startup Village, the Balkan Startup Village, even Crossroads. There's so many places where Solflare is putting up money, and so like just to be very clear, like Solflare doesn't splash around cash to wave around their dick. Like they splash around cash because they're trying to be truly supportive of people who are and have been a part of this ecosystem, and so like truly appreciate that, honestly.
And then very important fact as well is that the product is actually really good, and that should be the center of the discussion here as well. So let's take a look at this nice little blog post here. I just pulled up your screen as well, So shout out to Jussie. I think Jussie Saul, he put this together, if I'm not mistaken. And he just kind of highlighted a few of the news that we've seen in the past months or weeks about Solflare, and just like a few highlights of the application and why we think it's dope. First of all, I think it's fair to say that Solflare is for Solana. It's in the name. They're the first Solana wallet out there. They are supporting only Solana. They will only support Solana forever, right? So if you're someone that wants to be active in the Solana ecosystem, you want to hold Solana, you want to stake Solana, you want to use Solana dApps, it kind of feels like your natural fit, right? That's why we like it, because it's the purest form of a Solana wallet you can get out there. Literally is Solflare. That's one of the biggest USPs, right? And I say that out of conviction because it's true, and I really believe that this is a USP. Then we have the dashboard function, right? So if you want to pull it up, like in the
yes, exactly,
in the tab as well.
Yes.
So
hold on, I'm gonna hide my screen for just a second.
We also want to show the dashboard function, which you can actually get in the browser. So if you're in crypto, you are used to browser wallet. So it's an extension to your Chrome browser, and you usually open that browser in the top corner by clicking on the icon, and then it's there, right? It is a bit like it's just what we're used to now. It is it's a bit clunky actually. Like it's not, we're not like, I think normies are not used to this kind of user experience, but it works really well, and it's kind of straightforward. So browser extensions are great. That's how wallets work so far. But you have the option with a few of these wallets, and now especially with Solflare as well, to expand the view into a new tab and actually have a much nicer user interface.
All right, let's do a countdown. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Boom.
Right there. So essentially, I'll do that again for dramatic effect. So like you can open up your wallet through the browser extension, but like this gives you a very limited view. And so what you could do is, click this handy dandy expander icon, and it'll open literally a new tab, which will get, so you could I'm not going to click into this stuff for fear of what I might dox, but
no, you can click on the Solana token, like on the Solana coin down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's actually cool feature as well. Like you can literally just check the chart inside of your wallet. We're in the Solana wallet right now, in the Solflare wallet. You can check charts. You can actually swap right here and there, right? So you can use the swap function of the wallet. You don't need to go to any other DApp. You didn't have to connect the wallet anywhere, right? You're saving that click. You just expand the wallet. You're in the dashboard. You can trade the tokens. You can access staking. You can search for a validator and stake directly out of your wallet. So you can do all these fun things in a nice and clean UI. So that's pretty cool. And then obviously, it's also just like the user experience is just really quick as well. Like Solflare is just quicker right now. I feel like they really accelerated their speed. So you click on something, it opens, you swap a token, it takes like 1 second maximum, and the thing is done. So pretty neat and clean user experience.
And, not to be a fucking dick, but I actually think that this is a much more useful feature than, alerts from your friends when they trade things. Like truly, I actually think that sometimes it's these smaller convenience features that just like work every time that add way more value. So like an example of this is like Samsung comes up with all these stupid fucking features where, and I used to work there, but it's like you wave your hand in front of the computer and then the camera will pick up that you're waving your hand. And so it'll like scroll through different pages. Like they have features like this, right? You know what's even better? Is like you have an iPhone and you have a Mac, and then anything that you copy, you can paste from iPhone to Mac or Mac to iPhone, which is like not sexy when you describe that, right? But when you actually use that on a day-to-day basis, you're like, oh, wow, this is very powerful. And I feel the same way about this Solflare feature right here. It's just like clicking to open dashboard. Like seems like a small thing, but I actually think would be immensely useful, especially for people who are trading a lot in browser. So that's fucking sick.
Definitely, yeah. Good stuff. We do have more though. There's
my god, so much shit.
I know it's a lot right now, guys, but it's there has been quite some stuff going on the timeline as well in the past week. And one thing that we definitely have to mention, because it has been making waves, is the whole loudio thing. Stay loudio. I haven't really followed it very closely because I was sick. And even if I wouldn't have been sick, I don't think I would have followed it closely. But it is a bit interesting to see what happened. They did an initial attention offering, which is just a name. It is basically just a token offering, so an ICO. But they're calling it an initial attention offering because it goes only for certain eligibility criteria, which are based on Kaito yaps. So you have to collect yaps about the token Loud, and the people that are in the top leaderboard, the top 1,000 Loud yappers. They were the first eligibility that were able to buy in the token. And then they distributed 45% of their total supply to that initial attention offering. So the first token sale based on eligibility criteria to buy into. Loud is live. They have a CA. It's on their platform. It's on their bio right now. What's the handle? Stay Loudio on Twitter for people who want to check it out. They are definitely using Kaito a lot, which has been on the timeline now since months, to kind of decide who gets hands on the token first, and it's based on your ability to catch people's attention.
This is very much a product. So the thing that catches my attention the most with this project is that I don't think it's a standalone project. I think that this was a brainchild of Kaito to showcase their leaderboard technology and like how other projects might try to harness their leaderboard to generate attention. And I think speaking of attention, I would like to bring your attention to this tweet by Cash. Two true things. Kaito is a killer business with a great team executing exceptionally well. Kaito is ruining CT. Which I think is absolutely true. It's true. It's weird when you create explicit incentive structures around behavior that you want to see until you actually see it. Like this idea of like, let's provide monetary incentives for people who are shilling my project meaningfully is a good core idea. Like on its face, theoretically, personally, I think that's a great idea. But it also just kind of means like, well, what does that actually look like in the real world, right? Well, it means that my timeline is fucking spammed, with a bunch of like loudio, Kaido stuff, which isn't the best experience, quite frankly.
Mm,
So it's kind of interesting to see. The idea was wildly successful, but hot or not, Simon?
yeah. Yeah. I think I'm torn. I'm torn. Because the tech is interesting. I get the concept. As an entrepreneur, would I, do I judge them? Not at all. Like Kash is totally right. The product is pretty cool. But the incentives are really toxic, right? For Twitter, because what is Twitter really? It's a public forum to put out your opinion on things, right? And now we're putting a financial incentive on your opinion directly, right? We're linking a financial incentive on it. So if you have that opinion, you get that amount of money. That's basically what we're saying. That might be a little bit dangerous, because now if you have, and the more reach you have, the more ability to grab attention you have, the more this effect is actually leveraged, basically, right?
But all Kaido is doing though is formalizing an existing informal process, right? Like it's the most direct way to financially benefit from your audience. And like we'd already do this in a bunch of indirect stupid ways, like KOL,
Yeah.
sponsorships, and or I guess in the case of
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways we try to do this. It's just Kaido is the most direct way that we've done it, and I'm not so sure that we like the results. Even though the core idea makes sense, like it makes sense to me. It's just I just don't know if that's the timeline I want to live in. Constantly being
Yeah.
shilled based on people's financial incentives.
I think it's a perfect example of that. There's no good and evil in this world. There's always shades, right? I mean, okay, well, I take that back. There's there's definitely things that are undoubtedly evil, but there's a lot of in between as well, right? That's what I want to say. You can't always classify things as good and bad, and that's it. Kaito, I think that depends highly on the individual that is yapping, because if I'm yapping about something that I'm genuinely interested in and I want to yap about, that then I'm that's what I want to be as a creator, right? That's what our philosophy is for Soul Brothers, right? We want to talk about shit that we want to talk about, right? Anyways, like you and me, because we're just enjoying to fucking talk about it, and we're enjoying it even more if people listening to us, and then we're enjoying it even more if we can also make this financially sustainable, right? As a business, perfect, right? That everything is aligned. But then that is the best case scenario. That's when it's good. That's when Kaito is good as well, because if I'm yapping about it anyways, I get paid for it. Perfect, right? It might be better than KOLs because now I can even track it a little bit better, right? But then also there's a flip side to it, right? There's a dark side of it where people exploit it, where people exploit their community, where they shill, right? When we say shill in crypto, we basically mean you're saying something only for the sake of benefiting from it financially, and that is dangerous. So again, I think my bottom line here is that you have to, yeah, it depends, right? That's the best. That's the best two words I can say. It depends.
It depends. It depends.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't depend though, Simon, is getting your KYC'd information leaked online from hackers. So, this is old news at this point, but because it blew up on the timeline. But the co-founder of Solana, Raj, had his ID, passport, and more information just shared on the timeline. Hilariously or strangely, this information was leaked from the Migos Instagram account, which makes like no sense to me. Like, why would that? I guess you hacked it, and that has super high reach.
Yeah. It was
and there was a demand that he pay 40 BTC. And then Raj said, always remember to dress up smart for your KYC photos. You'll never know what kind of reach they might get on social media. I am super curious, though. Do you know whether or not this has anything to do with the Coinbase hack, where they had people that they on the because that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, that was the assumption that the data. But I mean, first of all, we kind of saw the conclusion of it was that it was not actually Raj. It was not actually his data. So there was like kind of a bottom line here that we can draw. I think Toli posted something, and he was proving that it was not Raj. But it was a good eye opening for people to see what could happen, right? So yeah, I think that's something we need to clarify first and foremost. But obviously, it fitted very well with the timing of the Coinbase hack, where people got access to the information, the private information of Coinbase users by a social engineering hack that they did with the support staff. Right, we covered it a couple of weeks back, and I don't know though if they actually got KYC data, right, or if they just got addresses and so on, right. But pictures like that are in the database of companies because they have to keep them there for compliance reasons. They have to keep the KYC pick in their centralized database. And those companies are very prone and endangered for hacks. And that's a problem for the company, right? And they can't really, they have to take that risk because they need to be compliant. And it's a big risk for consumers because they can only use that product and that application if they obviously are compliant and pass the KYC and do everything. So bottom line, data monopolies suck, right? It's a problem if you have a monopoly on data in one silo, stuck in one silo that can be breached, right? And that is non-encrypted. And I think we can do so much better nowadays. And that is a perfect example of why we need better privacy preserving technology, why we need better identity technology overall, to preserve our privacy in a way that it actually can't be hacked, it can't be accessed, and yet is compliant, right? And we can do that. We have the tech for it. We just need to adapt it, and we need to break through some politics as well, because I think there's companies and stakeholders involved here that they just don't want this to be possible with better tech because they're benefiting from the state of quo how it is today.
Yeah, I mean, it just highlights like why I think products like Solana ID make so much sense, and very much a shameless plug here, but I actually think is super relevant to this conversation because, I mean, I don't want all of my private information scattered everywhere. Like, I'd rather just have, like an on-chain identity where I can control what information is linked to the identity, and then through ZK proofs or other methods that are trusted by third parties, like let's say the California government, where I was born and raised. It's all like, if the California government could attest, like I have a California driver's license, like that can just stay. Like that driver's license data can stay with the government, but like the attestation of it could be on my own device, right? Or anywhere I have that that ID on chain. And that's vastly superior than having my private data spread everywhere, right? Like I don't want to have to give over my California driver's license to a bunch of different companies so that they can have a record of it, right? Like I'd rather that it stay with the California government. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just like, it is so like the whole system is obsolete because we have to identify ourselves so many times, and every single time you have to identify yourself again with yet another provider, right? Completely new. It creates a new risk of data breach, right? So you don't even know where your KYC data right now lives because you did it probably like 20, 30, 50, 100 times in your whole life that you upload video, like blah, blah, blah. So like just have one. If you
have to send KYC data to my bank that I'm already banked with every single time I send a transaction. I gotta send KYC. It's not even like a new provider, bro. Like it's like it's like, you know me. I've sent this transaction how many fucking times to South Africa to pay Caveman for video shit. Okay, like, do you really need another photo of my passport and my face? It's all like, come on.
Yeah. Just It is what it is. I think we still have shit to do in that industry, but pending. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah. And last but not least, to close out the Soul Brothers podcast, you guys have been waiting for it. Nah, not really, but Julia Gardner and Anthony Boyle will portray Caroline Ellison and Sam Bankman-Fried in the new limited series, The Altruists. And I fucking hate this description. Two hyper-smart young idealists try to remake the global financial system in the blink of an eye, only to seduce each other into stealing $8 billion. I hate this description. I already know I'm going to hate this. I fucking hate Hollywood. I mean, I love Hollywood, but I hate Hollywood plus their takes on crypto. It's just like every single
Yeah,
take I've seen on a TV show or a movie
yeah,
is just
yeah,
so fucking lazy. It's like it doesn't even
yeah.
try. And this is they seduce each other into stealing $8 billion. Like that is
It's
not what
used.
happened at all. Like, was there a
Yeah,
romantic
I'm scared.
relationship between the two?
I-
Yes, absolutely. But like they seduced each other into stealing. That's not how that dynamic worked. I just hate it because like no, honestly, like movies and stuff like this do more to create the image of what crypto is than what I mean. It's just very damaging, and like if you're like, I know there are probably some people who are like, "You mad, bro?" It's like, yes, I'm mad. Like, I don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous what it can do to our industry because you're spreading misinformation potentially for the sake of making a nice series that grabs attention and sells, right?
Yeah,
And then also, I just want to highlight something. This is reality, okay? That's how they
yeah,
look, and this is the actor stage shows. What the fuck?
yeah.
Like what the fuck? Like
So
look at Julia Garner, right? Look at Julia
yeah,
Garner. Look into her eyes, and you know how you feel, and then look in this person's eyes.
yeah. I feel like I want to be really careful not to like body shame or like call anyone
No, but
unattractive or whatever.
it's
But
just
it's like
it's not fitting, and
not
I
that
do it
it's
for
not
you.
it. Yeah,
She's
but
very
it's not.
unattractive.
It's not the. But it's not the. Well, I mean, that's not even the point. It's like these actors
Yeah,
barely
yeah.
look like the people that they're
No, also
portraying.
the
Right.
charisma, right? I'm not about the looks actually, right? I'm more about
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
the charisma and like the way. And I think because the caption that they wrote, it fits perfectly to the actors, right? Like they seduce each other, like those two they have a romantic relationship and so on.
Yeah.
Perfect, right? It fits perfect. But
Yeah.
reality, caption is different, and the charisma of both actors is completely different as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see that show. Yeah, it's crypto, right? It's a wild west, and Hollywood is the Wild West as well, as it seems.
Also, have you ever heard Sam Bankman-Fried's voice? I mean, he kind of sounds like this, where it's always high
Really?
pitched and he's always
Damn.
grouping together words, and I just cannot imagine anyone seducing anybody with this voice. It just doesn't. It doesn't.
You
It
sound
doesn't
like a
work.
Smurf. You sound like a
I,
Smurf. I love that. You
yeah,
should do a whole podcast in that voice.
I
That'd
do.
be
I
actually
do. Do you know I do a lot of impressions? I do like a lot of impressions. I just don't break
really.
them out ever. Yeah, because they're embarrassing.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay, we're
we'll
getting
save
there
that.
step by step.
We'll
Save that
save that for another
for
pod.
the next for the 50th EP one day. Eno,
Yes.
let's wrap it up because we've been doing this since a while now. This episode number 31, and my stop loss triggered for the trade that I was in. I actually put a stop loss after we opened it, so we did not make any money with the trade. But I opened a new trade when my stop loss triggered, and we went a little bit lower. So I'm still in a long right now, minus $3. We made minus $7 in the stop loss. So right now we're minus
Okay.
$10 in total. But I'll keep it open because I think we have the chance to recover. So I keep it open over the next kind of whatever after the pod ended, and I'll see if I
Yo,
close it later today and I can make some money.
yeah, tweet about it like live.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no need to wait until next week. Like, just fucking tweet about it. I want to see what happened.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll
Yeah.
see where it goes, and then I'll let you know if it went good or if another stop loss triggered. Other than that, I would say thank you everyone for tuning in to Sol Brothers yet again to another episode here for your weekly dose of Solana news, so that you don't run out of things to talk about with your friends. That's Eno's part, but I can do it as well. And we want to see you again. That would be a pleasure for us. So please join us when it's time again for another Sol Brothers podcast next week. Until then, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, as we're growing it a lot. We're on Instagram as well, and the Sol Brothers Pod. We're even on TikTok, family. So even on TikTok, you can follow Sol Brothers and interact with us. And please come also to our Twitter. Go in the comment section and be active and talk to us and give us feedback what you want to see more of and what kind of news we might have missed this week, because there's so much going on that we're definitely missing shit. Having that said, I think it's The only thing missing here is wishing everyone a good rest of the week or good beginning of the week. Eno, have fun in Vietnam, and looking forward to your report of Vietnam and the APEC Summit next week when it's time for the next Sol Brothers EP.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is thank you so much to our sponsors, our partners, our friends over at Jupiter and Solflare. We love y'all. Thank you so much for all the support. The only thing, you know what, actually, last thing I'll say, I hate how this shirt looks on me versus how it looks on you. Like,
damn,
dude, bro,
you look good as well.
like,
you look like a best basketball
no, but
player.
do you see how baggy this fucking show the arm real quick. Show the arm.
We'll fix that.
That's some bullshit. That's some fucking bullshit. That's some look at that. That's some fuck that.
I got you, bro. We'll fix it. We'll fix it. We'll hit the gym. We'll do it. Guys, thanks so much for listening. See you at the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Bye.